Hey there guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. And before moving forward to something called classes and objects in a new kind of concept, I thought it would be better to make you clear what all we have studied for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to use almost everything we had learned. Okay, so what I'm going to make a program. I'm going to make many things right now. So say for example the user wants to check, he wants to get the list of even numbers from 0 to the to the limit he gives us. Okay, so what are we going to do is we are going to write a public static void main. I'm just gonna type quickly because I need this video to be short. And inside this main, what we're going to do is we're going to print that enter the limit. Okay, and I'm gonna take a number from user int x. Now if you remember, to take input we need scanner. So first I need my scanner running up and ready. Scanner in, you can name it anything, is equal to new scanner, and then get the input from system. Okay, so now to take an input in integer, we have to write in the scanner name dot next int, and then we have our limit. Okay, so now what I'll do is, since I have to check each and every number for if it is prime or if it is even or not, and just to tell you that any number divisible by 2 is even. Okay, and I have to check every number from 0 to whatever the user gives me. Okay, so what we're going to do over here is we are going to write this in we are going to use a for loop int I equal to 0. We're going to start from 1 because 0 is obviously something we should not check right now, and we're going to say I is less than equal to x, because he wants to check the limit as well. And we are going to increase I1 by 1, and inside this for loop I'm going to write an if statement. If the I divided by 2 leaves remainder 0, as you know the percent operator gives a remainder of the division. And now we are going to print system dot out dot println. We're going to print that the I, this will be getting the value of I, and we are going to add it with a sentence is even number. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So else we're going to say that the I is not an even number. Is not an even number. Okay, so let me just save it and compile it and run it. So it's asking me for a limit. I input 10, and as you can see it printed me 1 is not an even number, 2 is an even number, 3 is not an even number, 4 is an even number, 5 is not an even number, 6 is an even number, 7 not, 8 is, 9 not, 10 is. So that's basically using the for loop for something. It saved me writing n number of times some code again and this code again and again, and it's pretty cool thing. Alright, so these were the for loops, and now let's just go ahead and do it in a function. So I'm just gonna copy all this and I'm gonna name a function. Okay, I'm gonna name, I have to declare it as static because I'm going to directly use it in the main, so hence it should be static. I will not return anything from the function void, and check even will be a name, and I'm going to give a limit input to it, and inside this function I want basically this thing to happen, and instead of x we are going to write limit now. Limit. And over here what we're going to do is we're going to call that function check even and enter the limit in it. So as you can see, this will also work properly. Enter value 5, so it doesn't take a while. So 1 is not, 2 is, 3 is not, 4 is, 5 is not. So this is how you use functions, alright? And what do we learn? We don't learn else if statements. So we'll just quickly do that. Instead of is an even number, we want to check if it is divisible by 2. If not, check if it is divisible by 3. Is divisible by 2. So if this is not divisible by 2, check if it is divisible by 3. Else if I mod 3 equal to 0. So basically we are just saying if I divided by 3 is giving us remainder 0, then it is divisible. System dot out dot println I is divisible by 3. And now we're just gonna say is not, if it's not divisible by 3 or 2. So we're gonna run it, and we're going to say enter 10. So 1 is not, 2 is divisible, 3 is divisible, 4 is divisible by 2, 5 is not, 6 is divisible by 2, 7 is not, 8 is divisible by 2, 9 is divisible by 3, 10 is divisible by 2. So it worked as we expected it to. And as you can see, the function came in handy over here because I needed to change my code, and I could just literally just jump into the function and change it instead of finding my code over here and then doing that. So this is what the function is, an advantage. This is basically what modularization is. Okay, now say for example if you want to check if it is divisible by 2 and 4, so we're going to write an AND over here. I mod 4 equal to 0, and we want to check over here if this is divisible by 3 or say 7. If I mod 7 equal to 0, and say we want to check another thing over here, and over here we just want to say that else if I mod 13 not equal to 0, or not equal to 0. So what we are checking over here is if I divided by 13 is not equal to 0, which means I is not divisible by 13. We can check it in two ways. Either we check this not equal to, or we check if I is divisible by 13, then we reverse it. Okay? And to reverse integers, we need brackets. So this is the using of the not operator. But since this is the dumbest thing to do, we are just going to check the not equal to. That's basically the same thing. Okay? And we are going to take system.out.println I is not divisible by 3. And we are going to move this over here. This is divisible by 3 or 7. And this is divisible by 2 and 4. Okay? So we'll quickly run it. And I'm going to type 13. So see, I is divisible by 13, 1 is not divisible by 13, 2 is not divisible by 13, okay? This happens because since I mod 2 is equal to 0, so this part is true, but 2 divided by 4 will not be equal to 0 as it will leave some remainder. So that's why this thing ran for 2, and obviously 2 is not divisible by 3 or 7, and obviously 2 is not divisible by 13. So it gave me 2 is not divisible by 13. Now 3 is divisible by 3 or 7, that's obvious. And 4 is divisible by 2 and 4, that's also obvious. 5 is not divisible by 13, that's obvious. And 6 is again divisible by 3 or 7. 7 is divisible by 3 or 7. 8 is not divisible by 2 and 4. 9 is divisible by 3 or 7 again. So 10 is not divisible by 13. Why did this happen? Because yes, 10 is divisible by 2, but it's not divisible by 4. So again, we are ANDing a true and a false, so it will give us false. And for this number 3, it ran because 3 is divisible by 3, but it is not divisible by 7. So true or false will be true, so this ran. And for the 13, as you can see, it's neither divisible by 2 and 4, so it will not run. 3 and 7 also cannot divide 13, only 13 can divide 13. So, and over here we are checking if the number is not divisible by 13. So over here 13 divided by 13 will give us the remainder 0, so this condition will be also false. So the else ran for 13 and it just is not. Okay, so these are the logical operators. Now we'll quickly do a switch case example, just a simple one. Just a real quick one. So we are going to switch the value limit, and we are going to say case 1, which means if limit equal to 1, system.out.println limit is 1, and then we're just gonna break from this case if this case is true, because I don't want any cases under it to be executed without being checked. System.out.println limit is 2, and then again if this case is also true, just execute this case and break from it, because I don't want to run anything below it without being checked. And we're going to say for by default that system.out.println limit is neither 2 nor 1. Break. We don't need a break for default, by the way, because default is basically the last thing, so why would you break if the last thing is true? Nothing is there to execute below it. So anyways, let's just run it and quickly see what happens. 1, limit is 1. 2, limit is 2. Okay, now let's make this interesting. Let's make a calculator. So first we are going to print to user some choices. Enter the number of your choice. Okay, and before that we are going to print in the choice line, and in the choice we are just basically going to write one is for sum. Now if you want to leave a new line, say if you want to write like this, here's what the thing. The enter is basically for the code over here and not for what you are printing. And so if you want to leave a new line in what you are printing, you have to write \n. So this \n is basically an escape sequence, and there are many escape sequences like \\\, if you want to type a backslash, and \/ inverted comma if you want to type a quote, and the backslash, we have a \, T for tab space, and there are many. You can find them on Wikipedia. Just search escape sequences, because I don't remember them all. We normally end up using the \, inverted comma, and \t the most. So anyways, let me just get back to it. And in the second point I want to write for subbed. Okay, and now we are going to take two values. Int, we're just going to quickly write the copy paste and thingy. We're going to write enter number 1, and we are going to take an input from the user, and now we are going to type enter number 2, and we are going to take another input in number 2. Next int, come on, yep. Okay, so now we're going to change the name of the function, and we are going to name it calc, because it's some kind of a calculator now. Calc, and we're going to change this to choice, and we need the two numbers which we are going to calculate. So I'm going to change this to choice over here because now we don't have a limit, we have a choice. Okay, so I'm taking the input of choice in x and number 1 in num1, number 2 in num2. So I'm going to write num1 and num2 over here so that this will go be over here. So now x choice will be equal to your x and num1 will be equal to your num1 and num2 will be equal to your num2. Okay, and inside this function I'm going to declare a number called sum, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to check if the choice is 1, which means sum. We're going to add num1 and num2. If the choice is 2, which was for our subtract, we are going to subtract sum. Sum is equal to num1 minus num2. If not, we are just going to print enter a valid value. Enter a valid choice, not value. Okay, and say now we'll just run it for a quick little thing and then I'll show you what. Oh, okay, it's no point of running this because I've never really printed the sum. Sorry. So I'll just print the sum over here. Dot print line sum. Okay, I'm gonna save it and quickly run it. So there's an error, and why is there an error? Why are you saying this? Oh, okay. This error is because if none of my cases run, it will try to print something. Which has no value. So by default, I'm gonna initialize it to 0. Okay. Now we're going to run it. So I'm going to add first, and my first number will be 12, and second number will be 20. And as you can see, 20 plus 12, 32. And for the second choice, I will write a I will subtract 12 and 20, and it's going to give me minus 8. So this is a basic, small, simple little calculator. Now, say for example, after it has calculated the sum, we also want to see if the sum is divisible by, 2 or not. And we don't want to do it over here, we want to do it inside our function main. So what we are going to do is, instead of void, we are going to return an integer, and instead of this printing over here, I'm just going to return it. Okay, sum. And now you remember that this was causing this just a quick note. This was causing an error over here. What you can do is you can make a block of case, and you can simply print this over here. Let me just do that again. Print this over here. Okay. So now what this will do is, if I don't initialize this, see, there will be no error because the sum will be only printed if it is calculated. The sum will be only printed if it is calculated. So that's how you can avoid this error. Okay. So let me just check quickly if we can return over here or not. Return sum. We can. So now what we are doing is, as soon as the sum is calculated, just return it, no need to proceed further. Okay? And if sum is not calculated, it will return, say 0. Okay? So here we go. Now we need some value to take the input from sum. So we're gonna write int x sum over here equal to sum. Now this sum is different than this because this sum is only available to me in this block, and this sum is only available to me inside this function. Okay? And now see, there is a thing called unreachable break statement. Why it's saying that is because since if sum is calculated, I'm just returning it. So my function will return from here to where it was called. So my function will return to here. So this break will never run. So I can remove this break now because it's not needed anymore. Because if case 1 is true, it will calculate the sum and return it, and return to the point where the function was called. So the case 2 will never be checked. So that's what's happening right now. Okay? So that's why I didn't need a break, because if case 1 is true, we need break, for example, say return was not here. And if now I need break because if case 1 is true, it will calculate sum, then obviously case 2 will also run because there are no breaks. Okay? But if I don't, if I use the return, I do not need breaks, because if case 1 is true, sum will be calculated and it will return the sum, and the function will stop executing because we are returning something. Okay? So that's why we don't need break. So anyways, let me just quickly get to the point over here. If sum divided by 2 leaves remainder 0, simply print that sum is divisible by 2. Okay? So we're just gonna quickly save this and run it. And we are going to add 10 and 20. 30 is divisible by 2. Now we are going to subtract 13 and 2. Okay, it didn't print me anything because 30 minus 2 is 11, and 11 is not divisible. So let me just show you that it did calculate it, and it just didn't print me here because the if statement evaluated to false. Um, 13 and 2. So see, it did calculate the 11, that the subtraction of them is 11, and it didn't print me because 11 divided by 2 is not equal to 0, so this condition will be false, so it will not run this. So this is pretty much the practice. We have almost used everything. We used the switch case, we used if, we used else if, we used else, we used the for loop, we used the scanner, we used the functions. We use the functions with return types, we use the functions with parameters, we used pretty much everything. Okay, so practice this, and if you need to, but I think after this video pretty much everything will be clear to you, that's how we use it in coding. So this is a long video because this is a practice video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you got pretty clear of what we're trying to do in this practice program. Because I tried to keep it as simple as possible, so I didn't get into complicated implementations of those ifs and switches and stuff. So this is it in this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you got now pretty clear about the stuff which we studied in the previous videos. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Goodbye.